I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Burns, roll call.
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Mr. Parentano?
Present.
Mr. Allen? Mrs. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Boyle?
Present.
Mr. Feather is absent with prior notice. Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Present.
Mr. Kovitz?
Here.
Mr. Marrington?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters related to litigation. The district mission statement. The Neshaminy community builds futures by empowering each child to become a productive citizen and a lifelong learner. Mrs. Burns, any announcements?
No announcements.
Mr. Jones, Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I have a few items in the report that we've already mentioned at prior meetings, but I can hop down to Peter Furrow here, a Maple Point student, placed third out of 60 competitors from area schools in the Chemical Education Foundation's Bucks County You Be the Chemist Challenge. His third place finish means he continues on to the state round at Penn State, so congratulations to Peter. Girls basketball had a great year this year, exciting year. They went as far as any Neshaminy team has gone, losing in the semifinals to Garnet Valley, but they had a wonderful season. We congratulate them on great success. We had young elementary students at a STEM design challenge that was held at the IU last month, a team representing Neshaminy out of Schweitzer, and we also had our AE students from all of our middle schools there for a different day for the similar type of challenge. Our teams represented us very well. They worked together well, they were prepared, and it was good to see our teams in a collaborative form like that, working not only together, but in a design fashion that is representative of a lot of the work that we do today on the STEM side. And so congratulations to our students. There's also a couple articles in my report about art students, young art students. We had a student out of Schweitzer, second grade student, Andy Chavez, and her art was recently honored. She was representing Neshaminy School District at a countywide event celebrating the arts, the Bucks County Intermediate Unit Student Gallery in Doylestown. Her collage was selected and will represent Neshaminy there for the entire year as part of their exhibit, and we're excited for her. It's a beautiful piece, and it's in the report. You see a picture of it. It's really well done. She did an excellent job. In addition, Miller Elementary student, Nikisha Arun, was best in the show for elementary at the Pennsylvania Art Education Show, Department of Education in Harrisburg. So we had two real strong young artists out there representing Neshaminy, and we're excited for the work that they do. And they are representative of a really strong arts program here across the district, as we all know. We had a successful parent program, district-wide parent program. We had the clinical director from Anxiety Behaviors Clinic at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia offering parents and guardians coping and intervention tips for school-aged children to reduce anxiety, increase communication, and improve overall mental health. The topic doesn't sound overly exciting, but it is an issue that's really facing a lot of us as we deal with our young people. We deem them under the umbrella of social, emotional factors. We had over 200 parents from the district in attendance that evening. It was a really well-received program, a strong presenter, and it is part of our district's strategic plan. In our Strand 2, we talk about trying to do better to support our kids on a social-emotional level, and this is one way that we can help support our kids by supporting their families and supporting their parents. And so it was a good program and well-received, and I thank Mrs. Burkholder for helping put that program together. The Neshaminy All Sports Hall of Fame, the nominees, the new members to be inducted on April 5th were listed in my report. We congratulate all of them on their upcoming honor. There's also a reference to the Alumni Achievement Award. That's a new award, different from the Hall of Fame, which is more sports related, to recognize alumni just doing good work in their career and in their life. If you know of somebody, you can go to my report that is part of our board docs system, and find the form there to send some information in, or you can contact the superintendent's office and we'll get it to the right people for you. And then finally, the Harlem Wizards basketball game is coming. There's a whole list of people who are participating. Somehow my name got included. I'm not quite sure why, but they had a practice today, and now we're in trouble. If anybody knows somebody who can shoot from the three-point line, I definitely need that player to be joining our team. No need for us to keep practicing. That game's happening on the 6th of April. It's a Saturday. You can buy tickets if you want to laugh at us, and April 6th, Saturday. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Jones? I believe we have one presentation tonight?
We have
Two, actually.
We have two presentations. I'm going to go to the podium to make the first presentation. Savion Hebron, how about you stand up, because we'll confuse you with your brother right there next to you. You can stand here right next to me. And I told Savion, I mentioned his name at an earlier board meeting because some of you who were there at that meeting might remember my comment at the time was on my block in Northeast Philly, like we would race from telephone pole to telephone pole. And it was like exciting if you were the fastest on your block. This man's the fastest in the state, fastest in the states. That's a pretty big block. That's a lot of people living on that street. So here, I want to read. Coach had a meet today. The spring track season is up and running already. This was winter track, state competition. And so Coach Sid White prepared some remarks. I want to read on his behalf some nice words to give you a flavor for the accomplishment here. Tonight, we're proud to recognize one of our star athletes from Neshaminy High School, Savion Hebron. I'm going to say Hebron. On February 24th, Savion earned the title of state champion for the 200-meter dash at the Pennsylvania Track and Field Coaches Association Indoor State Track Championship held at Penn State University in State College. Savion placed first with a personal best time of 21.5 seconds. At the same meet, he also placed fourth in the 400-meter dash championship with a time of 48.76 seconds and joined teammates Emmanuel Ampofo, Ethan, say it?
Emmanuel Ampofo, Ethan Nolan, and Savon Hebron.
Savon Hebron, sitting right here with you. And they took fourth place finish in the boys 4x4 relay championship race with a time of 3 minutes, 24.18 seconds. His performance also earned him a trip to the New Balance National Indoor Meet held in New York City on March 8th through the 10th, where he competed in the 200-meter race and the 4x400 relay with his Neshaminy teammates. Savion has run indoor track during his entire high school career and will be competing in the spring track for the 4th year this spring. That's not easy to do. That's a lot of work. Winter season, spring season, they run right together, and it's hard to keep up with your academics. He also played football for 3 years, so now add that in. 3 sports is really impressive in today's world. And congratulations to Savion, Neshaminy High School coach Sid White. We wish he was here. He's done a remarkable job helping him with these achievements. And Coach, and has he kept up with his academics? Where's he headed next year?
Outstanding student who has a scholarship to Penn State University.
Scholarship to Penn State University. Stay right here. Board President, Mr. Sullivan, would like to congratulate you.
Great accomplishments. We'd like to present you with that. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's not easy to come out. High school kids are very busy, brother and sister,
His brother's a senior also, sister's in ninth grade. And what I tell, when the students come out to do presentations, some of you who've been here know I often tell them, this is a good time to get home and do your homework, so you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. So I'm inviting you to actually get home so that you can take care of those academics, though you're welcome to stay. Congratulations. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for coming tonight. Thank you.
And our next presentation for tonight will be Ed Furman from the Certified Public Accounting Firm of Malley is going to present the 2017-2018 audit report. Ed, it's all yours.
All right. Thanks for having me. I passed out two documents, one, a smaller one called Audit Presentation, and I'll start with that one. The first page of that handout is just the items I'm going to be covering, the agenda of the items. The page after that, Required Communications. We issued an unmodified audit opinion on the financial statements, which is a clean opinion, and we also issued an unmodified audit opinion on the single audit work. Single audit work is based on the amount of federal programs that you receive. We're required to do certain testing by the federal government with that. We also issued what's called a SAS 114 letter, which is an audit committee letter. And that's whenever we issue an audit opinion, we have to also issue this letter to the highest level of the audit client, which would be you as the board. And we're required to communicate if we had problems with the audits or issues or material adjustments, and that was clean. We had nothing to report there to the board. And a 115 report would have been issued if we had a situation of a material internal control weakness, which we did not have from our testing, so that was not issued. One thing with the financial statements is that you prepare what's called a comprehensive annual financial report, and that's about a third longer than a typical government financial statement, and it's presented to a national organization to be reviewed. And there's only 12 school districts in Pennsylvania that issue a CAFR each this past year. The page after that is I just summarized some of the audit testing that we do. We review, again, the internal control system and test that. We do a lot of independent confirmation work where we can. And at the bottom of the area, we also use a data extraction software. So we actually download 100% of the transactions of the district. We compare it to trends from prior years. We identify any material transactions, unusual trends, and then we use that as our basis for testing. One thing we run with that is called a Benford's Law test, which is the next 2 pages. And Benford was a mathematician who came up with a formula that based on the size of a population, so many transactions should start with the digit 1 and a lesser amount 2 through 9. So since we've captured all of your data, we run this chart just to see if there's anything unusual. And with the first digit, Benford Law, there was nothing really to report there. We ran a double-digit one on the next page, and there were you see a couple spikes there, and we drill down into that activity, and the activity really related to payroll transactions where the first 2 digits of most of the employee checks run with these numbers. So again, nothing unusual from our testing. The last page of the summary is just, I tried to summarize the total finances of the district. The top section is called the government-wide financial statements, and it's a full accrual method of accounting where you capitalize your fixed assets, you record depreciation expense, debts recorded as a liability. So walking you through the balance sheet there, you'll see that the cash investments went down slightly from prior year. The capital assets net of depreciation expense was about $171 million. And in theory, we're depreciating your capital assets over their estimated useful life. And if that's the case, you have about 60% of the life left of the assets of the district, which is very positive. You'll see that the debt was a pay down in 2018. One accounting change happened with the OPEB obligation, and that's the other post-employment benefits, basically medical coverage provided to retirees. The GASB changed the method of calculating that, and also PSERS also provides a benefit in that for the OPEB also. So that liability has to be added on this year, which is why that jumped from 5.7 up to almost 17 million. Again, predominantly because of factoring in the PSERS issue also. The pension liability on the positive side with PSERS, that actually went down about 7 million. There's still a negative balance sheet or negative net position of 190 million. And unfortunately, that's really related to the pension liability and the OPEB liability. Most of the revenue and expenses were pretty comparable year to year, and that worked its way down to a net change or a deficit of about 5.8 million. And again, a lot of that dealt with the change in the OPEB accounting. We also report the general fund as a separate governmental fund. Your fund balance at the end of 2018 was a little bit over 35 million. About 14 million was unassigned, and you committed 12 million to be towards any PSERS fluctuation, and about 6 million in capital projects. And again, it's not a legal restriction, and you as the board can change that monthly or daily, but that's how it was at the end of 2018. And there's actually a deficit in the general fund of about 946,000. So even with that deficit, you had actually gone into the year budgeting about a $5 million deficit, so you really had a favorable budget to actual of a little bit over 4 million. A comment at the bottom, again, on the single audit work. Again, that's compliance testing based on what the federal government dictates to us, and we had no findings and nothing to report there. So that's a quick run-through of the main financial statements. The other book I passed around is we do about 25 school districts, and at the end of the cycle, we just summarize the data to give you a chance to see how you compare or line up with our other clients. Neshaminy is number 18 in that book, and that's more just for your information.
We're 18 out of 25?
Yes, but not by size or anything, just by basic of when you were finished with the audit.
No, it's not a ranking, though.
No, it's just.
Do you have them, by any chance, do you have them ranked anywhere? Or?
We probably have back in the office, we do, yes. But there'd be different categories, whether you use fund balance or net position or amount of debt that exists.
I'd be curious to see it, if you can get it to us later regarding fund balance.
Any fund balance?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll pass that on then.
Well, that's right over here. Right. But that's on the accrual basis. I know. Yeah. Right. So our net change was a negative $5.8 million on the accrual basis.
The accrual basis, yes. You had about 7 million of that was depreciation expense. More of the focus is on the general fund because that's your
Did you say
normal.
7 million was depreciation, Ed? I'm sorry.
In total for last year, you had about 7 million of depreciation. But again, the main operating fund would be the general fund, and that's how you really keep your books and do your budgeting, and that's how the monthly reports are prepared. The government-wide is just a once a year balance sheet that's issued.
The pension liability went from 289 to 282. Is that just a funding mechanism or a better?
Well, PSERS calculates the liabilities for all the districts, and then they allocate it out to individual shares. We had other districts that actually went up a little bit, so it's mainly based on their asset performance and also just on your employee mix that's reported into PSERS.
But that's not telling us how much we're actually paying, though. That's just telling us how our unfunded or our
That's
liability.
That's potentially the total unfunded
Funded
liability.
Okay.
You know, so that's a 20, 30-year
20,
liability. And again, it's a mix based on asset performance and also the allocation of employees.
In the report, and I had it labeled here, but I think I lost it. You made a notation here about our drop in revenue. I think it's in your analysis.
Yeah.
Yes, in the management discussion. Are you seeing that in all
I don't want to say all the other districts that you watched, but are you seeing that trends continuing? That many districts are still spending more than their revenues?
General fund last year, that was a predominant result, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Is there anything consistent from district to district that's causing that deficit?
I guess there's usually an evaluation of the board of the total general fund balance. And again, it's trying to minimize any tax increases of using some of that fund balance for that purpose.
But the percentage increase across all districts is about the same. Don't most districts are seeing their payroll-related expenses are their number one driver of everything, right?
That's 2/3 of your budget.
Right.
Yes,
So for
definitely.
every district, it's basically the same. They're seeing those same incremental increases that are causing their operating deficits.
For the most part, yes. We have a few districts that actually cut headcount.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
They cut down their
Yeah,
employees?
that's very, very rare, though.
Okay.
But we had a few with that, yes.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Hey, once we digest this, we may ask you to come back, because we may have some questions. This report comparing district to district.
Sure, that'd be
I
fine.
know you can't say who the other districts are.
Well, again, technically, it's public information. They all put it on their website, but we just don't flag any individual names on that, yeah.
Okay, I think we're good. Anybody else have any other questions, or? Appreciate it, Ed. Thank you very
All right,
much.
thanks
Glad you're
for-
feeling better.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry about last month.
All right, that brings us to the first public comment period. Mrs. Burns?
Steve Rodas.
Sir, please state your name, where you live, and what you do.
And where you been?
Yeah, tell you all that would take up my 3 minutes. I know, I'm sure of that. And in any event, I am Steve Rodas. I live in the villages of Flowers Mill. There's a couple of things I'd like to go in the order in which I would like you to explain the purpose of the tolling agreement with the Wood School, which appears in today's agenda. I mean, I read the agreement, and it doesn't say really anything other than you're going to toll the statute of limitations. But there must be a reason that you're tolling the statute of limitations. Number two, I was amazed to find that the school district pays $1.37 million in 2017, 2018 to charter schools, cyber charter schools, which that figure amazed me because that's like over 100 students going to cyber charter schools. So I want to commend you for your support of the Senate Bill 34 and the House Bill 526, since they both apply to my favorite whipping post, which is the cyber charter schools, who, despite their advertising of their own greatness, still perform in the bottom 5% for educational performance in the state of Pennsylvania. So if we could eliminate that great expense, that would be fantastic. But of course, you have to convince the parents that that the state, when they take their numbers, actually mean something. So finally, hopefully, it is way past time to enter into a contract with the people who take care of the Neshaminy School District. You know who they are. They are always here because they always lend their support and aid to the district. Despite the auditor's report, you probably, in the budget, made some money if you don't settle a contract anyhow, because you always have to post it at what you offer, which is always more than what you actually pay. And so the difference comes down to the bottom line. In any event, the support staffs of the Neshaminy need to have their contract settled. When I was driving over here today, I heard on my radio a song from the 50s, which was from Pajama Game, 7.5 cents. That was what they were arguing about in their contract 70 years ago. 7.5 cents didn't mean a heck of a lot, but it goes a long way. Right now, it should be about $7.50 in today's money. And then you would probably satisfy the people that work for Neshaminy, because they do an outstanding job and they deserve your support in more than words in actual contract appropriations. Thank you.
Anna Borsos. Anna Borsos. Anna? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anna Borsos, and I live in Langhorne. I'm a proud Neshaminy graduate. My children are also Neshaminy grads. I'm a taxpayer. I'm an instructional assistant in a Neshaminy School District School, Hoover, in an emotional support classroom, which is not always easy. This was not what I went to school for originally, but I decided to work for the district so that I could stay home and be there for my children, to build their futures. I wanted to make you aware of who I was. I work hard supporting my students. I'm a dedicated employee. The day our school was evacuated due to carbon monoxide in the building, I stayed. Yes, I was told I could leave, but they were my kids, and I had to make sure they got home safely. I am also a mentor to 2 students at Hoover. I do this, they're not in my classroom, I do this on my own time during my lunch periods and on my breaks. I've worked for the district for 15 years, first at Lower South, then at Furtabar, and now at Hoover. I've participated in numerous talent shows, spring and fall fairs, spaghetti dinners, school musicals. I'm on a PBIS team. I have worn Buddy the Bully-free mascot costume at Lower South. That was on my bucket list, so. The reason why I tell you all this is because I don't know if you realize all the extra things your employees do. I look around this room and I know many of them do the same thing I do, and it's all on my time, not yours. We are very dedicated people. I am a part-time employee. I don't have the opportunity to become a full-time employee for Neshaminy because you're not doing that anymore. I receive 4 sick days, 5 if I used all my 4 with the doctor's note, and 1 personal day per year. To take away more benefits, to outsource more employees, you are doing your students, this district, and your support staff a disservice. Please don't break our spirit. I hope you can respect us and see our worth to this district in your negotiations. Thank you.
Jay Saraton.
My name is Jay Sarajan. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army. I've set up satellite communication terminals servicing the U.S. Embassy all around the world. My specialty was in cryptographics for the satellite communications equipment. I live about 1 block away from where the proposed cell phone tower is going to be installed at proposed to install at Poquessing Middle School. I've done extensive studies in the effects of EMIs on individuals, especially children. I have several reports from the University of Arizona that has a team that's looking into this. And I have some copies here I'd like to give to members of the school board. It takes too long to go through it right now. But I'd like to give them copies. I'll give you my card. If you'd like to discuss it, I'll come in and discuss it with you. As I said, I'm retired. I'm also an amateur radio operator, so I know where you're coming from on antennas. However, putting them this close to a middle school is way too dangerous, and I have the documentation to prove it. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. All right. We'll now move to item 2.2, routine matters. I'd like to make a motion to approve item 2.01 minutes, 2.02 treasurer's report, 2.03 check register and procurement card purchases, 2.04 budget transfers, 2.05 bids, 2.06 investments, 2.07 exonerations. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Allen. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. 8-0. Mr. Feather's not here. Personnel Administrative, Mr. Piratano.
Be it resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of Directors hereby approves the following retirements and resignations of administrative staff. Terry Hittenberger, Human Resource Director, resignation effective June 22nd, 2019. May I have a second?
Second by Mr. Kovitz. Comments or questions?
I'd like to recommend a no vote on this motion. What, no? No, wait, I can't do that? Okay. I just want to thank Mrs. Hittenberger for her years of service to Neshaminy. I found her to be an invaluable resource for the times we needed her input, and I just want to wish her well. I know you've had a long tenure in the system, and just have fun, be good, and don't forget us. We still may need you. So, thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I know, right. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Personnel certificated, that would be me. I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments. 4.02, leaves of absence. 4.03, revised leaves of absence. 4.04, revised returns from leave. 4.05, appointments. 4.06, co-curricular resignations. 4.07, co-curricular appointments. 4.08, ancillary appointments. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions?
I'd just like to make a comment. I just want to thank one of our retirees with 33 years of service, leaving Pearl Buck Elementary, and Miss Kathleen Smith. Your service and tenure in Neshaminy is highly appreciated. And Miss Denise Brad at 17 years at Maple Point. So thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Personnel support, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 5.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 5.02, leaves of absence, 5.03, revised returns from leave, 5.04, appointments, 5.05, co-curricular resignations, and 5.06, co-curricular appointments.
Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman. Comments or questions?
The board wants to take this opportunity to, we have 4 people with almost 20 years plus service leaving. A Carol Barish, 24 years of service. Marie DeAngelis with 30 years of service. Margaret Jensen with 22 years of service. And Jerry Panoski with 18 years of service. Thank you again for your service from Neshaminy, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. Well deserved.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Educational Development, Mrs. Boyle.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 6.01, which is revised 2018-19 school calendar with the 2019 graduation date, and 6.02, which is home instruction.
Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Kovitz. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Business Operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 7.02, the tolling agreement with Wood Services, Inc., 7.03, the 2017-2018 audit, 7.04, Toshiba lease, and 7.05, Sunday facility usage.
Can I get a second?
One more.
No. We're pulling them out.
I got you.
Pulling them out. Second by Mr. Allen. Comments or questions?
Can we give the public an explanation for what the tolling agreement is?
Yes. Mr. Jones? Or John?
John, you want to do it?
Sure, thank you. There is tuition that is owed to Wood Services from the Neshaminy School District, the source of which is to come from the state. We anticipate this money to be received soon, but the statute of limitations is set to expire, and to avoid a lawsuit, this tolling agreement is required. So.
Mr. Tarente, could you also add to that for the public's knowledge why these type of arrangements are required under state law for the reimbursement of the tuition assignments?
Sure. It's a statutory requirement that schools such as Wood Services are to receive tuition reimbursements from various school districts throughout the state, but the payment has to come through Neshaminy School District from other school districts, and in some cases the state if the students are considered or deemed to be wards of the state.
Thank you, Mr.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion's passed 8-0. 7.01. The IU, actually.
7.01, support for Senate Bill 34 and House Bill 526, cyber charter school legislation. Whereas a growing number of school districts across the state are responding to the need to successfully operate high-quality, full-time cyber education programs within their traditional district programs that provide flexibility and personalized options as a choice for students and families. And whereas school district cyber programs include rigorous curriculum aligned with the state academic standards and taught by appropriately certified teachers, and school districts can provide their cyber education students with regular and special education instruction and services, tutoring, career counseling, and other support as necessary. And whereas cyber education programs operated by school districts provide students with a smooth transition to and from traditional school settings and give students opportunities to participate in district instructional courses and resources, and students may choose to participate in extracurricular activities such as athletics, band, music, clubs, and social activities such as homecoming and prom, and students may graduate in district ceremonies and receive a district diploma. And whereas the Commonwealth is the sole authorizer of cyber charter schools, yet the tuition costs for students attending these schools are borne by school districts and local taxpayers. And whereas the majority of cyber schools have consistently placed in the bottom 5% for education performance in the state, Further, graduation rates of cyber charters are constantly and substantially below state average. And whereas the current funding formula for cyber charter schools is based on school district expenditures with no relationship to the actual instructional costs for regular and special education instruction and services for the students attending the charter school, and funding of cyber charter schools cost the Neshaminy School District taxpayers more than $1.37 million in 2017-18. And whereas school districts that operate high-performing cyber programs can do so at significantly reduced costs as compared to paying tuition to a cyber charter school, enabling them to retain critical funding in the district for the benefits of all students. And whereas Senate Bill 34 and House Bill 526 supports school districts that provide their own cyber education programs by removing the financial responsibility for resident students who enroll in cyber charter schools instead of the district's program. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby supports Senate Bill 34 and House Bill 526 or other efforts to provide a fiscally common sense approach that will provide savings for school districts operating full-time online learning programs and are required to make tuition payments for their students to attend cyber charter schools. Be it further resolved that a copy of the resolution be submitted to the elected senators and representatives of the Neshaminy School District in the General Assembly and to the Governor of Pennsylvania.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Puritano. Any comments or questions? Mr. Jones?
I just want to clarify for the public, and the board's well aware that the Neshaminy School District started for this year for the first time a Neshaminy School District Virtual Academy. That Virtual Academy has helped us to talk to parents and families of students who are in charter schools or have been in charter schools and encourage them to come back and work with us. We have a much more personalized program, a sound program. Our parents have been really satisfied with the work that we've been able to provide. We're hopeful that over time we would be successful, but something like this, legislation like this, certainly makes sense for schools like ours that provide this opportunity right here in district. The opportunities for students be above and beyond their academics is enhanced by being in district. They get to participate all the way up through graduation and graduation ceremonies, and so we're excited about what we're doing today, and some work like this at the state level would actually accelerate our opportunities to bring more students back into the district. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to add to Mr. Jones' comments is I know myself as a board member, I know the other board members that I've spoken to definitely feel that there is a need. Some students, this is the right environment for them. Not the majority of students, but there are students, and we need to provide these services, and we're glad to do them. But as Mr. Rodas mentioned at the podium and was in the motion that we read, the performance overall of these cyber charter schools is ridiculously poor. I know there are plenty of parents who have found success for their children in there, and I'm not knocking that, but as a board member, person in the community, you as taxpayers that are seeing these expenditures going into these schools when their costs of operation are less than 20% of ours, but we're paying almost the same amount you send to a brick and mortar school is just really just terrible for us to have to continue to see us pay for the type of performance that is being generated. Not that anything should be on a paper performance, but it is so disparaging different from what we're obtaining and we're seeing in our regular schools, and I hope that we're going to see in the program that Mr. Jones and his staff put together this year. I'm really hoping that the public supports this, the legislature supports it, and I really think it would be a step in the right direction for our students and the parents that feel they need this different setting for their children's education. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0.
7.06, acceptance of donation. Whereas the Tawanka PTO and the Neshaminy Kids Club have offered to donate $2,548.25 each towards the purchase of fencing valued at $5,096.50. And whereas this donation to the Neshaminy School District for fencing will allow for its installation at Tawanka Elementary. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy School Board of School Directors hereby approves the aforementioned donation from the Tawanka PTO and the Neshaminy Kids Club.
Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Boyle. Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Policy, Ms. Boyle.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 8.01, which is the second reading of Policy Series 800, which is operations, and 8.02, which is the retirement of existing NSD policies.
Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Okay, 8.01, other board business. We're now at the second public comment period. If you wish to speak, please approach the podium. Sir, your name, where you're from, and what song you heard on the radio tonight.
Good evening again. Hello again. I'm still Steve Rodas. I still live in Langhorne, unless my wife moved out with me, and I didn't even know about it. At any event, I wanted to address the question that the Army, I believe, was the Army that you were in? Yeah, I want to address the question about the telephone towers. I know that you can make pretty good money off of these telephone towers, but I got to assume, I got to hope that somebody somewhere will perhaps listen to some scientific presentation on the matter, because I think it is necessary to do this where children are involved, and it's nice to know that somebody somewhere in this country believes in science. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Brings us to the board comment section. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. First of all, to comments about the cell tower. There's 4 of us that sit on the facilities committee. Myself, Mr. Sullivan is the chair. Mr. Feather is absent today, and Mr. Allen. Currently, we are still in the planning stages. Verizon is responsible for bringing the proposal to the Lower South Board of Supervisors to get it properly zoned. And the technical specifications and the relationships to EMF, I've myself personally have done some reading. I appreciate anything that you want to put forth to the board and to have us read. There are varying opinions in the literature that I've read. Most people, or most reports that I've read so far, and I'm sure there's many differing, is that carrying, a cell phone with you exposes you to more EMF than you get from a tower that's 90, 100 feet in the air. I'm not a scientific expert on EMF by any way. I'm doing this as we go along. We have to have a larger discussion of EMF that we're exposed to every day. All our schools now are highly wireless. We have routers in almost every room in every school. I don't know if people know or not, but those routers, the ones you have in your home, they put out EMF too. How much exposure is too much? How much is too much for a child? We're looking to the material that we're getting. We're looking to what Verizon's providing, and also what the public, has to say about it. Currently, our agreement is basically as a landlord only. It's additional revenue for the district, but of course, the full board will have to make a decision on whether or not they feel this proposal from Verizon is something that we want to engage in ultimately. But we as board members are definitely open to any information that anyone from the public wants to provide, and we'll review it, and we'll give it its weight when it comes time to make a decision. But Lower Southampton is going to be, I think, the best area where this discussion needs to take place, because they're the ones that have to go through the zoning and the planning. But, it's our responsibility to at the school board, because we will be the landlords of it. So, we definitely want to hear from you if you have an objection or if you're in favor of it, either way. What was that other thing? Oh, the Tawanka PTO, I want to thank you for your donation. Very generous. All our PTOs have been very generous this year to all our schools. I want to say thank you again to our support staff who's been coming out regularly at the meetings. We do enjoy seeing you. I appreciate your comments from the podium. We are working hard towards a settlement. We're not going to get into contract negotiations from the board podium. We've been at it 14 months. We're going to continue to get at it until we hopefully get an agreement. This board values all of you. That's why we're at the table talking. We continue to look forward to the continued engagement and see if we can come to a solution that we feel we all can live with. We know today that the underlying reasons for everything we do is what we talked about earlier during the audit, what we can afford to do. And we're trying to meet those needs. We've been trying to have this discussion openly at the table. There's plenty of you, at the table, so it's, there's many voices there. So we'll continue to work with that group and see what solutions we can come to a final agreement with. In the end, both sides are going to find that they're going to give a little. That's the nature of negotiations, and hopefully that we'll soon be able to resolve it. But there are certain things that your group has expressed that they need, and there's certain things that our group has expressed we need, and that's the reason why we're there. So we hope to continue and hopefully solve it as soon as we can. So thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, I'd like to, pardon me. Terry, I want to thank you for your years of service to Neshaminy. You were one of the first board cabinet members who I came in contact with on my first meetings, and it just amazed me how quickly you had everything at your fingertips when the questions came up, and it was, some salaries, positions, years people were involved in the district, and I, for one, am going to miss having you with those meetings. So, wish you very well. Moving on. Just a couple quick things. Also, I want to thank the Tawanka PTO, Neshaminy Kids Club. That was very generous for the purchase of the fencing around I think it's kindergarten playground. And Lady Skins basketball. I am probably not the right person for this. I'm not a basketball player or big fan, but I was following along on our social media, and boy, they really caught the spirit of Neshaminy, and did us proud. First time in history to make the Final Four. That's a big accomplishment, and hats off to them. And young Mr. Savian Hebron. Wow, that's I'm not going to tell you my times, but those are my events: 200-meter dash and a 4x4 relay, and that's just impressive. State champion, that's great. Again, hats off to him and all fantastic representatives of our Neshaminy community, and so glad to see doing so well. That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, to the folks such as yourself, ma'am, that came up and spoke, I think you're going to find, with the exception of a few people that are actually paid to be here tonight, and even in concern to them, most of us are here because we're very passionate about the school district and the kids that are within it. We love hearing the stories of Savion and, some of these other kids, the little junior chemists, and all these things going on in the district. We're all very passionate about it, and I mean, from my standpoint, everybody here on the board, we're elected volunteers. We work very hard, and we understand what it's like to put in extra time. As a teacher myself, I put in a lot of extra time, more than I get paid for, but that's okay. That's just what we do. That's our call to service. So, but don't think for a moment there isn't anybody up here that doesn't appreciate the work that you do. And everyone who comes out here in a red shirt, I mean, every time that we have our meeting, it's wonderful. It's great to see you, and we to parrot a little bit or dovetail onto Mr. Piratano's words. We truly want to see something mutually beneficial come forward. So you guys are definitely appreciated, and we love it every time you come out to be here with us. So again, in regard, sir, to your comments, I'm a recovering engineer and rocket scientist. I've worked on commercial communication satellites. I know I'm familiar with some of the effects of radio frequency, aka RF. So I would certainly welcome any documentation that you have. I would certainly want to review it and see. The last thing I would want is to put any of our kids in any type of danger. Thank you.
I just want to thank Terry for all of her help. She certainly will be missed, and I wish you well. I also want to thank all the support people who come this week and other weeks, and I want you to know that you are appreciated, and I know I speak for the rest of the board when I say that.
Anyone else? I'll go. Terry, I would like to mirror what some other people have said, that you will definitely be missed. You've been very helpful to all of us here on the board. Although Mr. Furman's not here, he helped me realize a couple things. Number one, why I got out of auditing and stayed in tax. Number two, the financial issues that Neshaminy has isn't unique to Neshaminy. I think all school districts throughout the state, or at least in this area, are going through it. I mean, there's limited funds. We want to take care of our people, no doubt, but there's only so much money to go around. And it is good having the support workers here. I'm just curious if you still show up after the contract's settled. I'm curious to see what happens there. So hopefully you do. So with that, if no one else has anything, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Second.
All right.